Springboks squad for the Rugby Championship is out, folks. They've got 41 names on the list. There's a few omissions as always, but initial reaction is it's a pretty safe selection. They've clearly been working over the last couple of seasons to funnel the players that they are looking at seeing play into the mix so that come Rugby World Cup time, these guys will be pretty much ready to go. But we'll go through the squad. You guys can let us know your thoughts on any guys you would like to see in who missed out, or potentially some guys who you think are lucky to make it. And yeah, we'll go from there. Hookers, they've kind of got, I guess, 3.5 in terms of they got Joseph Dweba back in. There's still a question mark about whether that guy's got the chops for kind of test rugby. But he played with South Africa A the last time the Springboks were together. So he's kind of back into the first string, this time alongside the established Bongi and Bonambi and Malcolm Mark. So that's a tall order displacing either one of those guys. And then you got, I say the half, that's kind of Dion Fourie, who's kind of more in the squad these days as a loose forward, with his turnover ability being pretty phenomenal. I've seen a few comments kind of saying that he's another guy that could have been on the outer in favour of someone a bit younger, but he's versatile, which when you're talking about limited numbers at a Rugby World Cup, you know, comes in pretty handy. So Dion Fourie can cover hooker if needs be. Props, Thomas du Toit, Steven Kitshoff, Vincent Koch, Franz Malherbe, Oxenche, and Trevor Inyekane. That's pretty steady as she goes. There's no real bolters there. That's, you know, a big bunch of South African beef. Like, they love a scrum, and you got some pretty bloody good scrummages in there. From what I've read, Thomas du Toit is perhaps not quite 100%, and was it Vincent Koch and Trevor Inyekane, the guys based in France, will be slightly late to the training camp due to their club commitments with the top 14 still going. But for the most part, propping stocks are pretty steady as she goes. And I think you'd be pretty happy with the front row generally if you were a South African fan. Now, locks, interestingly enough, is one of the areas where we do see something of a left field pick, which seems surprising. So you've kind of got the regular guys in Eben Ezebeth, who's apparently also not quite 100%, and Lud Diacha, two of the best locks absolutely in the world. Like, you guys are absolutely breeding locks down in South Africa, apparently. You guys just love you some tall timber. Marvin Orie is there as well, and I think definitely he's one who's been phenomenal based in his URC performances. Just a defensive powerhouse. He's been a beast of a man. So coming good at the right time. But as I said, locks pretty competitive. So you got those three guys. Plus you got World Cup winner Jacques Nienaber back for now, assuming he can stay fit. Like, please let that guy stay fit. I'm literally knocking on wood. Please let Jacques Nienaber stay fit. He's one of the best players in the world when he's fit. But geez, he's spent most of the time since the World Cup out injured. Like, how many games has he played for Munster? It's not a lot. So yes, we wish him the best. But those are your kind of specialist locks. And then one name on the list that I've put a wee asterisk next to is Jean Kleyn. Irish international Jean Kleyn, who, having not played for Ireland, I think since the last Rugby World Cup, right? He's been picked by Rassie Erasmus. There must be a little bit of satisfaction having seen so many guys born in South Africa and go to represent other countries. There must be a little bit of satisfaction picking a guy who's been capped on residency and then bringing back to his homeland. That has to be at least partly satisfying, surely. But yeah, assuming his paperwork goes through, hence the asterisks, Jean Kleyn will be in the squad as well. It's a really competitive lock environment, like I mentioned a couple of times, but Jean Kleyn was phenomenal in the URC season for Munster. A real proper unit of a man. So yeah, I look forward to seeing, assuming the paperwork goes through, what chance he is given. You've also got a couple of kind of hybrid players there in Franco Mostert, who can play lock or loose forward. He's a real workhorse. And then, I mean, you've got other guys who can play lock, loose forward as well. But I mean, Jean-Luc Dupré is one of the guys who's been out in the wilderness in terms of international games for a wee while. But he is back in. So that was, like, Jean Kleyn and Jean-Luc Dupré are maybe two of the ones that I didn't quite see coming up. The Dupré brothers have all been playing well, but they've been playing well for ages, and there's never really got them in the Springbok squad, you know, for the last couple of years. So it was a little bit surprising, but pleasantly surprised. What can I say? That does mean, though, that Jason Jenkins appears to be on the outer. I don't think he's not available. I'm pretty sure he would have been available. And then Salman Murat is another one who's you know, from that November squad last year, who's not here, but I believe he is injured. So there you go, that maybe ruled him out. Loose forwards, you got Peter Steph Tutoy, is another one who can cover lock if needs be. And then Seal Kolisi, who I don't think is going to play in the Rugby Championship because he's got a pretty long-term injury, but shows you the value they have on that guy, that he is still named in the squad. They still want him in the camp. The All Blacks have done that with Sonny Bill Williams. There's some guys who are just really valuable to have in the camp for the effect they have on all the other guys. Evan Roos, Quacker Smith, Marco van Staden, Jasper Wiese there as well. So yeah, you've got some loosies, man. I'll admit, a lot of countries around the world have got some pretty bloody good loosies. And then add to that, you've got Dwayne Vermeulen back in the mix as well. Now remember, Dwayne was kind of rested in November last year. They basically said, look, this guy's been there and done it. He doesn't need any extra game time. That's why they were trying to funnel the minutes into some of the less experienced guys at test level. And I mean, Dwayne Vermeulen's one of those guys that people are saying maybe not on form, but you know, he's a classy player, world-class player. And you know, in the crunch things in a test match, he's not going to shy away from anything. So good guy to have in the squad, and I'm sure he will. You know, he'll be lifted as soon as he puts that jersey on. So, yeah, you've got some proper poachers in Van Staden and Quacker Smith. Evan Roos is kind of one of your young guns. It'll be interesting to see how he goes for minutes. And Jasper Wiese, I think, has grown on a lot of us in terms of his ball carrying, man. He is a proper wrecking ball. So, yes, that is the forward pack, I believe I have mentioned everybody. The backs, you've got like 5 halfbacks, scrum halves in Faf de Klerk, Jaden Hendrickse, Corbus Reinach, Herschel Yankees, and Grant Williams. Now, again, what I read is that Jaden Hendrickse is not quite 100%, so that maybe makes sense why you've got one of the extra guys. You've got 2 pure pace men in Reinach and Grant Williams. Goodness gracious me. Bring either one of those guys on against some tired legs, and you've got some proper danger in your back line. And then, you know, Faf de Klerk's the kind of steady as she goes pick. And Herschel Yankees, kind of good to see him rewarded because he's been playing, you know, pretty well. He seemed to have fallen out of favour, but he's kind of been just quietly doing all right for his club. So pleased to see him get rewarded for that, although 5 guys for 1 position and 1 spot on the bench, 5 into 2, you know, probably at a World Cup, 5 into 3. Can Grant Williams play on the wing? He's quick enough, but I don't know. Another one of those ones where versatility may be an option. 10s, you've got Marnie Libok, Andre Pollard, and Damian Willems. Interestingly, with the forwards, they specified some guys like Mostert and Fourie and whatnot, Dupria, as utilities, but they didn't specify Damian Willems as a utility. But he's a utility, man. He can play 10, he can play 12, he can play fullback. Guy's offloading game is crazy, but he's listed as a 10. Pollard is back. You still worry about that guy's knees. He didn't play into last year with his knee issues. Anytime you saw him on the kind of AstroTurf or artificial pitches in England, a little bit worried about his knees. But if he's back fit, that's another guy to have back. And then Marnie Libok, a little bit hot and cold, but still can do some absolute magic. Top point scorer in the URC for a reason. So, yes, that's a genuine question. But, I mean, surely Hondre's got the front running. I'm curious to see how they go with such limited game time between here and the World Cup. Midfielders, great news that Lucanio Arma's back. Another guy who had knee troubles at the kind of midpoint last year, right? Rugby Championship, he injured himself last year. He's back. Dealender is there, Esterhazen's there, and Creel is there. Yeah, so there's no real bolters in the midfield. It's pretty much the same guys, plus the addition of Lucanio Arm back into the mix. Outside backs, Arendse, Colby, Mapimpi, LaRue, plus the addition of Moody, who missed out, I think, with a hamstring last year. And he's like another danger man. He's one of the youngsters who was kind of the bolters last year. Proper, you know, tall dude, good in the air, real gas. So good to have along. LaRue controlling the game from the back. Mapimpi, the veteran, he's still got gas. He's one of those guys that doesn't seem to slow down with age. Colby's been moving clubs in the back off-field, but backfield, off-season, whatever it is, moving to Japan. And then Arendse. Can you play Colby and Arendse on the same team? It's a bit unfair, isn't it? You've got to pick one. Surely they're both very elusive guys. But, I mean, Nkosi was one of the guys, I think, named at the end of last year. But with the off-field drama, it's kind of not surprising that he's maybe not available. He needs to get himself right. And then Mngolo Zulu is another one who I think was injured in the URC season. So perhaps not considered given his injuries. But, yeah. That's the squad. I believe I've mentioned everybody. If I've missed anybody out, do let me know. Obviously, it's a pretty strong looking squad. Like I said, I don't think they're in the position to just... I don't think they're in the plan to just bring in a bunch of bolters, uncapped guys. I mean, Klein is a bit of an exception that he's played international rugby, not for South Africa. Dupree back in the mix, and a few kind of either South Africa A guys like Dweber, Williams, Herschel Yankees. Those guys were SAA last time, back into the main mix. And yeah, a few guys who've kind of fallen out. There was a little bit of talk about Frans Steyn and whether he gets in. I think he's been injured as well, but someone will let us know for certain. With Damien Willems being able to cover as many positions as he does he maybe take that, if they go 6-2 split, does he take that kind of pocket knife, Swiss Army knife, able to cover a bit of everything position? Daimani is another guy that people mentioned. He's certainly got an electric attacking game, crazy pace, great hands, but is it a bit late to try and blood him before Rugby World Cup? I think Jean-Luc Dupree is maybe kind of a safer guy to be bringing back in. Dan du Plessis is one that people thought about based on his URC season. People not that kind of sold on Jesse Creel in the midfield. I always liked Jesse Creel as a fullback, but what do I know? Johan Grobelaar is another one. His consistency at hooker. Elric Lowe, Warwick Galant. Galant seems to be pretty much done, doesn't he, with the Springboks? Sadly, because he's been one of my favourites over the years. But the fullback jersey, yeah, it's probably LaRue's at this point. You would imagine the Springboks attack does look better when that guy is helping to pull the strings. But anyway, folks, they got 3 games in the Rugby Championship. Australia at home, New Zealand away, and then Argentina back at home. And then remember, they play Argentina away in a kind of non-Rugby Championship match with the abridged version of the competition this year with the World Cup. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. What do you reckon about the squad? Are you happy to see Jean Klein, assuming the paperwork goes through? Is there anyone else you would have liked to see get in that didn't make the cut? Anybody here that you think is maybe, not the best guy in their position and could have been filled by somebody else? You guys let us know your thoughts. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.